This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. My guest today is Linda King, the Smart Travelista. A fellow travel blogger, Linda is an author as well as a former travel agent and banker. Her goal through the Smart Travelista is to provide travel tips for both safety and ideas for saving money to make the most of your dream vacations. I was so lucky to get to chat with her today, and I hope you enjoy listening to our conversation. Hi, Linda. Welcome to Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. It's so lovely to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Ashley. Thanks for having me, and appreciate the conversation that we're going to have.
Yes, and I'm so excited to be able to hear from your perspective because you're from Australia, and although it is midsummer for us in the United States, it is the winter for you guys. So I extra appreciate you signing on as early as you did to have this conversation. So I'll get right to it. Hopefully you could go back and take a little nap before you have to get started with your day. But I would love some background on you and to tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Linda King, also known as the Smart Travelista. So I'm a travel writer, author, travel blogger, and obviously I founded the Smart Travelista through the love of my travel and also saving money. So in a previous life, I was a travel agent with an airline. So I did a lot of travel, which I then continued into the rest of my life, but used to book travel for other clients. Booked it for myself, and started travelling actually as a child. My family, we did a lot of travelling, so that I got the bug quite early, and then decided that that's where I wanted to lead my career into. As they say, everything's history from that point onwards, and I've been travelling the world ever since.
What was it about the traveling that made you, quote unquote, get the bug that had you go through it into adulthood? Because sometimes kids that travel around a lot, they revolt against it in their adulthood. So what made you stick with it and want to continue?
I think as a child, you're used to home, right? You're used to home and everything's really stable and you know what to expect. I think when we travelled, everything was so brand new and unexpected. I suppose as a kid it sort of took us out of our comfort zone a little bit, but we were protected obviously because we had our family with us. But it was exciting. It was exciting and different. And I thought, gosh, I'd like to do this always, like we'd seen a lot of Australia, but I wanted to see the world. So I think it gave me a small taste, and then it was like, okay, well, I just need to see the rest of the world because I think it's going to be so fabulous, and it has been.
What was your first trip as an adult with it not being a family vacation? Where was it to?
I went to London and then on to Europe. So went to London by myself, was only for a few days, and then joined like a group tour in Australia and New Zealand, and maybe in the US too. We do Kentucky tours.
Okay.
You can go on and so went on that, and it was a group travel all the way around Europe. And then after that, it was like, oh gosh, this is amazing. I just have to continue this, and that's what I did.
That's incredible. I'm so jealous that that was your foray into traveling. You went big or went home. So traveling, as I've explained to people, I did a 9-month stint throughout Europe on my own, essentially, and I'm paying the cost of it right now. I'm trying to catch up, and I was very careful I didn't do any tour unless it was a free walking tour. I used up my points and did it that way, but I know the bare minimum of how to save money while traveling, and I still didn't do a good enough job with it. What are some tips that you give to people? Did you gather that through your time as a travel agent, through your own travels? How did you gather this data that we're about to talk about right now of how to travel while saving money?
Yeah, I think I sort of learnt it more when I left the travel industry. I did also teach clients how to use their miles, but it's about replicating what I had in the airline. So with the airline, you get a lot of benefits and things are very, very cheap. And I was like, okay, well, I still need to do that because I'm used to that.
Yes.
But how do I do that? And then it was just about the research and building a sort of the knowledge. So I had my baseline knowledge and then grew that. And yeah, I mean, the more money you save as a traveller, the more travel you can do. And so that was my aim. So instead of having a big trip that's very expensive, if I can make it cheaper, then it means I can do more travel. It means I can see more countries and I can take more trips. So yeah, it was really my knowledge and also just things that I'd tried that worked. So miles is a fantastic one because with the miles, you have a strategy, you build the points, and then you redeem them, and it's like, well, great, that's a massive saving that I would have needed to pay for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what are some other ways? I know that there's miles, and then what are some other things that you've figured out are good tips of the trade for others to be able to travel and live out their dreams and such, but on a budget?
Yeah, I think it starts before you actually travel. So the best idea that I could give anyone is to book it all online. Now, that's a great thing to say, but you've got to learn how to do that as well, because a lot of people would say, look, I don't have the time or I don't know how to do it, and would go to a travel agent. And what they need to understand with a travel agent is, yes, you're paying for their expertise, so you're actually paying a little bit more than you would normally do if you went direct with these travel operators. So that would be my first big tip, is that people need to book online, book the flights direct if you can, or if you don't want to do it direct with the airline, there's also travel aggregators like your Webjets and your Skyscanner that you can use that actually give you a good snapshot of every airline, and then you get to choose which one you want to do. And I would say, so a lot of it starts before you travel. It's in the research. It's in knowing how much money you've got that you for your budget, for your travel budget. Can you book direct with the hotel? Do they have a sale on where they're going to give you free breakfast, which is then another saving? And just really working out what you're going to do on that trip, and then making a plan and getting the most affordable hotel accommodation, transport, touring, and build that as sort of your itinerary. So that's what I teach through a lot of my tips and also books, is take it step by step. So, it's, for instance, you're doing a degree. A degree seems really overwhelming at the start because you think, oh, my goodness. But if you break it down subject by subject, you pass that subject and then you go on to the next subject. So it's about just breaking things down into smaller steps. It then isn't so overwhelming. And really, when the traveller has done it once for themselves, they'll have that confidence, and then they won't need to be worried again. They'll be like, I've done this before, I can do it again.
Yeah, that's great. So as far as budget costs, I've heard, and I would like you to tell me if this is a myth or if this is reality, that, and you might not even know the answer, but I know that it's quite rare for someone from the United States to go and travel abroad. I feel like that's only maybe within the last decade, maybe, if I'm being generous, where it's become a thing, maybe even more so since the pandemic, where people are like, oh, geez, so much can be taken away so quickly, and now I'm going to go travel. You find more often that Europeans are better at the international travel. I also think for U.S. folks, it's the cost that prohibits them from wanting to go and do that international travel. Do you know if that's the truth? Like, is it actually more expensive for Americans to go and travel the world than it is for Australians or people from Europe? Or is it as opposed to them? Or is that just all in our heads and we need to just prioritize and be better planners so we can travel at more appropriate costs?
I think it comes down, Ashley, to the location. So if I take myself for an example, so I live in Australia, and if I want to get a cheap trip, I can go to Asia because it's very close. We're about 7-8 hours away. If I then wanted to go potentially not to Asia and then go to the US or UK and Europe, that's going to be a little bit more expensive because it's further afield. It's almost 21, 22 hours away. So I think it depends on the location. So I would say if you're booking with a travel agent, and also if you're wanting a really high standard, then that's going to bring your cost up. Another thing that affects the cost is when you travel. So say, for instance, I'm an Australian or an American, and I can only travel in high season, then that's going to be your most expensive season to travel because everyone wants to be there. So say, for instance, you go to Europe now, from now onwards until August, the prices are going to be through the roof because that's when everyone's going to be there, and also probably because of the Olympics as well in Paris. It's bringing up the cost. If that American or Australian was to go in low and shoulder season, they would have a dramatic saving in the actual travel costs. It's not the most pleasant of weather, so it might be a little bit colder. But it's actually going to save you a stack of money. So that's another tip I would give the listeners and anyone who's travelling. Don't travel in peak. What happens is people know that they can charge these high prices, and they will because they've got the demand there. What you need to do is try and travel in those shoulders and low seasons. One, there's not as many crowds, and two, it's going to be cheaper for you. So it's just about being a little bit more savvy about when you go. And some people are restricted. They say, they might be told that that's the only time they can travel. Well, then that's unfortunate for them. They're going to pay that little bit extra. But I would say there's a lot of competition out there, and they always offer their sales in those low and shoulder seasons. So I think people need to be mindful of that and try and travel then to get those cost savings.
And I also have found where people have asked me, why won't you go back and forth? Why did you just spend a 9-month stint over there? And it's a very complicated why. But I, as an American going over to Europe, it's much easier to travel once you're there, and it's much cheaper to do it once you're there, which people weren't understanding. So do you feel that if someone, because Americans, they're lucky if they get 1 week of vacation time, right? Do you recommend that they try to bang out and see as much as they can in that 1 week? Like they go to London, then take the train to Paris, then maybe go to Barcelona and then come back? Or do you recommend it's actually easier to save money if you stay in one country versus stay in one city? Or have you noticed any trends financially in that aspect?
I think it depends on how much leave you've got. So if someone's only got a week leave, 7 days, then they've probably got to do it that way. I would say if you stay somewhere, you're actually saving a bit more money because you're actually staying there, you're getting to know the place. If you want to, and you've got facilities there, you can buy food and cook, and that's another cost saving. Also, if you stay somewhere for a few days, you've got transport passes that are cheaper. When you go on a trip somewhere and you're only there for a day, it does become quite expensive, but then you have the time factor factored my my tip is that you stay somewhere longer because it's going to be a cost saving. Also, the accommodation with the hotels sometimes will offer you a night free if you stay, say, 3 or 4 nights. So you can actually get a deal with the accommodation as well, which then becomes a cost saving. So, I think the main thing would be how long has that person got? If they've got, we're fortunate in Australia, we get 4 weeks annual leave as part of our jobs, which is really great. So we've got 4 weeks. We can go, say, to Europe and then spend all that time, and we can go a little bit slower if we want to. But if we want to go and fly by the seat of our pants and go London one day, Paris the next, we can do that too. But you just got to understand it's going to be more expensive because you think about it, you're taking more transport, you're maybe taking more flights.
Right.
But it's up to the individual really what they want to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think of it that way of if you have a certain amount of days, they have deals. Because I usually didn't have the luxury. I was either staying someplace for a month or I was staying someplace for 3 days. There was no in between for me, but I think that's a really wise thing to consider of what you just said. There's these travel influencers that I find on YouTube that I get the algorithm they keep getting, and they have these luxury things that they're able to do and experiences that they get to have. And it seems like they have a stack of credit cards that they were able to accumulate all these points. I don't know how someone does that. I only have 2 credit cards that I try to get as many miles as I can. I don't know how they're doing it with the big stack that they've got. But how do you recommend is the best/fastest way to gain miles for an airline or for a hotel, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm with you. I've only got the 2. I don't know how you could afford the annual fees on a stack of credit cards like that. It costs you thousands of dollars. My strategy is that I've got one main really good frequent flyer program, we call them in Australia, but miles program, and I really concentrate on that and put everything on it. So I know there's a lot of different programs out there, but I think you need to have a strategy and think about what airline are you going to travel most on? Is it going to be a number of airlines? What I would do is join those airline programs because you're going to be getting the points. I think for me, I've got the one main program, and I get put accommodation. I got my credit card, so I've got the 2 credit cards, and all the spending goes on I get the points for that. I get the flights on that. I also get the accommodation. I'll get the touring. Everything to do with travel, anything to do with my life goes on the credit cards, which then gets cleared at the end of the month, and I then get all those points. So I think if you're really serious about, and say you've got a goal, so say for me, my goal is to go from Melbourne to London business class, and that's my goal. I don't go short term. I redeem them short term, but I want the big haul tickets. It means putting everything that I do. So using the credit card when I might use cash. We're really lucky here. We've got a supermarket program that's connected to the loyalty program. So every time we do shopping every week, we get points. Then we get the credit card points. And so it's really easy to build those points. You have a goal of where you want to go, and then you just strive for it. So if someone's traveling around the world and they've got, maybe 3 or 4 airlines, your first point of call is to join their program. Understand the program. So really look and understand what partners they offer, because not every program's the same. Have they got hotels that they're affiliated with? Have they got other financial products? What are their partners? Understand that. Also, what I would say is when you do that first look at it, make sure that you're regularly looking at it, because it does change, and just strive to continue building those points. And then in my opinion, you're best using those points and redeeming them for a really big ticket somewhere long haul, because you're getting the best value, because those points are worth money. And if you're doing it short haul, and there's nothing wrong with doing this, it just means that you're not getting the value for those points per mile and per dollar. So that's my suggestion. But yeah, just really, again, it goes with the research. Research that program, know it inside and out. And then you'll go, okay, I've got to get this. Is it affiliated with my program? Great. Okay, let's do it. And just, I'm not saying get yourself into debt and buy these things just to get the points.
Yeah.
That's probably not a good idea. It's about being balanced about it. So if you're going to get that mobile plan and it's affiliated with the program, you're going to get that mobile plan anyway. So, get the plan with them and you're getting those bonus points.
I just changed banks and I finally I work with Delta a lot, so I had my Delta Amex, and now I have my new bank, and they have a specific travel card where they help you accumulate points as quickly as possible. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
But it's good to hear that you also operate just with a couple, because I was like, what am I missing? That these people have a stack of credit cards, and it makes me feel a lot better that you are the travel expert and you don't recommend that necessarily for saving money.
No.
A big problem that I have, and my sister also has when we both travel, I'm quite nervous about this because the last time I went and did a long distance travel, I got super sick. And then when I came home, I got super sick. And my sister could just travel from one state in the US to the other and get super sick. So I'm going back to Europe in about a week and a half, and I want to make sure that I'm not getting sick. And I think my biggest problem is sleep, that I don't sleep, but I don't know how to solve that. So do you have other tips of perhaps health and travel and safety and travel?
Yes, plenty. I think it starts when you get on the plane. Be really careful when you're touching any of the little tables that you pull down on the seat. Having worked in an airline, I know they don't have a lot of time to clean those tables. So, I think one good thing from the pandemic was the sanitizer wipes that we learnt to use. So make sure you have those with you. Another thing I would say is, and this goes part of the research, if you're going to a not a so developed country, make sure you don't drink the water, but also consider when you're cleaning your teeth, because just automatically we put our hands under the water and then we get the water coming out of the tap to clean our teeth. So I would use that same bottle of water to actually clean your teeth. Which is a bit can be mistaken and get that water and then you're getting the bad water. Another thing that to be mindful of, I know some people sing in the shower and they have their mouth open when they're in the shower. You can actually get that water in your mouth as well while you're in the shower. So it's being really mindful. We do things without even realising. Another big thing I would say is never eat lettuce wherever you go, because, again, it's washed in the local water and it could be a recipe for disaster. Health-wise, also make sure that you have your vaccinations. Make sure you're allowing for 6 to 8 weeks beforehand to get those vaccinations. Obviously, one that most people would know is about the mosquitoes. Make sure you're taking repellent with you and that you apply it regularly. And in the places of your body that you think that... because we usually get it all over our legs and arms, but sometimes try and put it in unheard of places, because those mozzies are very clever and they can bite you under your clothing sometimes as well. What else for health? I'm not a big fan of street food. Because I've got those food allergies, I am really, really careful about what I eat. So I'm not a fan of street food. I don't know, the hygiene of the meat that they're cooking and sort of, I haven't cooked it myself. So I know some people love doing that to save money, but it can be sometimes a bit of a minefield. So they'd probably be my big health tips. Safety is a big one. Try and arrive, if you're a solo female traveller and even a solo male traveller, try and arrive into your destination in the daytime, because I think it's a bit safer. If you arrive at night time, it puts you at a bit of a disadvantage. Nighttime's always a bad time when people lurk around and try and prey on people that are a bit tired. Another thing is try and get your sleep so you're not so jet lagged. Jet lag can put you at a risk as well if you're very tired and you're not yourself really. You're not as self-aware as you might be if you had sleep. Be really mindful also of your belongings. And also for me, I never use ATMs that are out of the way, like, in secluded areas, because that's a recipe for disaster as well, even getting robbed. I think some of these are probably common sense, but I always, say if I'm going to Rome or somewhere like that in Europe, always make sure my money's in the front of me, so I know where it is. Anything on the back, you can't see it, so someone could just, do what they like with it, and just be really mindful. So I've got I think you guys call it fanny, little, those little packs.
Fanny
we
packs.
call them fanny packs. We call them bum bags because they're supposed, that's what the Australians call them. So we have like a bum bag in the front, and what I do is I actually hold on to it if I'm on public transport because they love trying to open those things, and so that you've got to be careful with your passport and your money because without those things you're going to be in all sorts of trouble. Another thing that I do, I always make sure that I've got my country's consulate number in my phone, in the location, and also I've got it somewhere else because, it's like an insurance policy. You don't know when you're going to need it. And, it's good to have that number on you, so that's really good. What else? Don't walk down deserted places at night by yourself. I mean, I think that should be a given to most people, but, something that they shouldn't do. Another big one, when you meet people, as you do, we all meet people when we travel, don't let them know your room number in the hotel that you're staying at. You can tell them where you're staying at the hotel, but meet them in the lobby. Don't give them your own number like that. You don't know people when you've just met them like you would a friend. So it's just about, being a little bit smart and saying, I'll meet you down in the lobby. Let's have, meet down there. But they'd probably be my big tips, I think.
Those are pretty good ones. I did an episode on safety tips as well for solo female travelers, and I have different ones, but I think both episodes coming together would be really good. So I think that's really good, different perspectives. Is there a city where if a female is traveling solo for the first time and they just want a city that's pretty safe to be able to learn how to travel on their own, essentially, is there any particular city that comes to mind for you that you're like, that's the city where I felt the safest? Or not quite?
In Asia, it's pretty safe.
In Asia?
For women. Anywhere in Asia. I'd say not your places like North Korea or anywhere like that. But South Korea is really safe. Asia's really good. I've also found, funny enough, Dubai is very safe for women, Western women. I'm not one for travelling at night time, but because Dubai is a really good shopping area, you're out there all day doing your shopping. Very, very safe. You can walk around. Like I was going on like what they call their sky rail, and it was right near my hotel, and it was about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and it was very, very safe. Europe, I think you've got to be a little bit careful in Europe, I think. But Asia was probably a good one. Also, if any of the listeners go to the South Pacific, so say your Tahiti and Cook Islands and Fiji, that's very safe also. Places like New Zealand are also okay. Unfortunately, if you come to Australia, it can be a little bit dangerous at night, depending on where you are. Not that I don't want people not to come to Australia, but it's depending. If you're in a big city, it can be quite unsafe. I suppose it's very similar to the US as well, like that. But there are a lot of countries that women can go to. There's actually a safe index. I haven't got the website on me, but There's an index that you can Google, and it's called the World Safety Index.
Okay.
And it actually lists all the countries in the world about how safe they are.
Okay.
So it's probably a really, really good thing. And I can send you a link afterwards if you like.
Absolutely.
But it also really concentrates on women and also men, of course, who are solo travellers, and you can actually refer to that index and then go, okay, I'm going to that place. Yep, it's not too bad on the list.
Yeah. Vienna is also another place where I just kind of almost completely forgot. I never totally forget, but I felt like I could let my guard down walking around Vienna a little bit. It was, for whatever reason, that was a good atmosphere for me anyway. Someone else could go and have a completely horrible experience at any one of the places that we mentioned. But thank you for that. I also heard you mention, and if you don't want to talk about it, we don't need to, that you have food allergies. And a big part of this podcast is I travel and talk about it through the lens of having celiac disease. You don't need to go into specifics, but if you are willing to share, do you have any tips for traveling with food allergies that people can
Absolutely.
think about?
I've written a book about it. So I'm gluten and lactose intolerant. So not celiac, but probably almost
you're part of the family. Yeah, you're part of the family.
Yes. So my tips are, you've got to be really careful when you go to a restaurant. I normally call ahead and go, can you, and if they're not speaking English, I'll learn the words in that language to be able to communicate with them. I will say, can you cater to my food allergies? I stress to them, I will end up in hospital if you any cross-contamination and, you can't accommodate for this. So if they can't accommodate, I won't eat there. The way I've navigated it mainly is I know what I can eat and I sort of stick to that wherever I go. So for me, it's about, I really love rice, any sort of rice dishes, and I know what the safe dishes are. So what I will do is I will stick to that, avoid the gluten, avoid anything that I know that's got lactose. What I'm a big one about doing also, and it's actually cost saving, is going to supermarkets and getting the food that you know that you can eat from the supermarkets. If I'm in a place where I can cook, even better, because then I can cook it. Europe's actually really good with allergies. I don't know whether you've experienced it.
That's been my experience.
Places
as well.
like France and Italy are fabulous. They accommodate for that. They are very accommodating, especially if you love pizza. If you love pizza, unfortunately, I can't have it with the cheese or the gluten, and they'll make me a special, and it's lovely. They put everything else on top of it. I think it's through trial and error, Ashley, and you're probably the same. You know when you know the danger foods, and unfortunately the controls are taken out of our hands when we're travelling because we're not the one cooking it. When we cook, we know exactly what's in the food. So it is a bit of a minefield, but I would say don't let that stop you travelling, because other people that have got worse situations, health situations, travel. It's on the scheme of things, it's a big thing to us, but it's not big in the scheme of things. So it's just how we navigate around that. So I will, if I'm staying in a hotel, I will go and speak to the chef and tell him what the situation is. I know it's embarrassing for some people to do this, but I actually ask them to wash the utensils. So if I'm out and I'm buying something and I've seen them use cream or cheese with that, I will say, can you please wash that? And I explain to them why. And you get funny looks sometimes, but it's your own health that you're trying to help. They don't quite understand what the ramifications of that's going to be. I think I've got my spiel down pat now, and I just let them know. And also in foreign language, I just say hospital. danger. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
and they understand pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So you've got to be probably a little bit more melodramatic, which is not a problem for me. I can be melodramatic. And you've just got to make it really a real serious thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's then when they get it.
I've told because I'm one of 4, and 3 out of the 4 of us siblings have celiac. And my younger sister, I tell her all the time, you can't worry about what people think about you, and strangers especially, when you're going out to restaurants and such, because no one else is going to care or look out for you like you will. People think they understand, people think they get it, and very few people truly, truly do, to the extent that what you're talking about of cross-contamination of, yes, you do need to wash that utensil. You can't just simply wipe it off with a napkin and hand it back to you. It has to, just get me a new fork at that point. You don't need to bring me back the same one. So I like that you're fine with being melodramatic, because I'm also fine being melodramatic. You got to do what you got to do. But I usually, because of my food allergy, I usually stick with Airbnbs. But I realized, as far as points go and building that up, as far as I know, there's no point system for Airbnbs where you can save up enough points and then eventually get it for free. So I need to start being smarter in that regard and maybe doing hotels. Do you specifically only book hotels that have kitchens then, so that way you're able to accommodate yourself, or just making sure they have a microwave? How do you navigate all of that? Because I'm assuming you're not staying in an Airbnb if you're gaining points.
Yeah, so what I do, I find out the facility. So I find out when I'm staying somewhere, have they got a microwave? What have they got that I can use? Mm-hmm. A lot of the hotels I stay at, I end up getting the complimentary breakfast down in the buffet as well. But what I will do, I need to make sure that there's a really substantial fridge, that there's a good microwave there. And, most hotels won't have your full-blown cooktop and all the rest of it. But for those few days that you're there, you can go to supermarkets and get by with what you can. And sometimes what I do, if it's about time that I'm going to go back to my hotel, I might go somewhere and go and get that rice dish, get it cooked, do it takeout, bring it back, eat it in the hotel. I've always got a fridge full of fruit and things that I know are safe foods. It's just chock-a-block. So, and that's another thing. If you're staying somewhere for a few days, you can do that. First day, as soon as you arrive, go to the supermarket, get all those bits and pieces. You're going to be fine. You're not going to go hungry, because even in between your meals, you've got your fruit, you've got your rice cakes or whatever else that you've got there to eat. So, yeah, and that's a bit harder when you're going from one city to the next within a day or so. It just means you've got to rely on other people's food, which is where the danger comes in.
Yep,
I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for all the points that you're describing is exactly why I want to have conversations like this, why I started my blog, and why I evolved it into a podcast, so that way people can figure out and gain the confidence to go and travel. So thank you for having this conversation with me. My last big question for you is, you've written some books and you have some blogs. Is it strictly just based on traveling you're writing? Do you do any other types of creative writing? And how does one feed the other?
Yeah, so I've got 2 series. So I've got the creative writing, the Annex from Abroad, which are travel stories. And then I've also got the Smart Travelista guides, which are more the information guides on how to do things. So the tips on, how to travel with food allergies, how to protect your travel health and safety, how to increase your airline miles and fly for free, all those sorts of things. With the Annex from Abroad, they are really quite funny little guides, funny books. So what they're about are the experiences that I've had travelling the world, but also people that I've met. And when everything goes perfect, Ashley, that's a boring story. When things go wrong, that's an interesting and exciting story.
Yes.
So my Annex from Abroad series is all about that.
Yes.
It's all about the mishaps and the dilemmas the dramas that I've got myself into travelling the world, with a bit of humour thrown in. And obviously I'm all in one piece. I'm back here talking to you now, so that's good. But yeah, they're fun books, and they're really a dedication to the wonderful people that I've met as well, because they've told me their stories, and their stories are also in the book. So it's not just my stories, it's about the dilemmas that they've got themselves into. And it's funny that you should ask that. I think the travel has inspired the Annex from Abroad, because things do go wrong on trips. Things don't go perfectly. When they do, it's great, but then there's no story attached to that, right? It's like, oh, yeah, it was great. Yeah, yep, yeah, but it's boring, in my opinion anyway. People are more excited and want to hear those stories where things went wrong. So I think the series sort of piggyback off each other. I think, you know, the Smart Travelista guides are about informing people and helping them travel better. And probably Annex from Abroad is also about helping them travel better and trying to avoid the situations that we've found ourselves in. So in a way, they're connected. And my big news is that the third Annex from Abroad is coming out shortly as well.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's amazing.
Yes. So the listeners have, and again, I'll give you some links later, but in the next few months that'll be coming out. But I have, I enjoy actually writing those books, because I relive the memories of what happened and the memories of other people. And it's a team effort. Without those other travellers, I wouldn't have those books, because it's also about them as well.
That's so magical. I know that it's also, for me anyway, those travel friends are in that moment in time. I carry them with me on the inside and how I approach life and things like that, but I don't keep in contact with them after the trip or after the time that I'm with them. So I feel like those friendships are a very particular brand of special, and that's so amazing that you are kind of putting them in perpetuity in the written word and making sure everybody remembers those forever. So that's incredible that you do that. I don't mean to project. I'm sure you still talk to those friends that you're writing about in your books, but from my experience and how I write about those people, it's the only way I can let them know how special that afternoon or that dinner was to me as a solo traveler. So I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah. So I protect their name. I don't put their actual names in the book.
Yeah.
But I think if they read it, they would know that it's about them. So, yeah.
Well, I've taken up so much of your time. We are approaching the end of our conversation. I usually ask the same rapid fire questions to every guest at the end of every episode. Is it okay if I ask you those questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So what is your favorite food city?
Oh, it'd have to be Rome.
Rome. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Not that I can eat some of the food, but I think the food is just so gorgeous there. Yeah.
Yes.
Either Rome or Paris. Paris does it well as well. If I can have two.
You can have as many as you want. Do you prefer, because people ask me what my favorites are. I'm like, well, there's many categories and there's my top 3 and I can't pick one. So I would never make you pick just one. Do you prefer a vacation that requires you to be active or to just relax?
I like a combination of both. I like to do both. I think that makes a balanced holiday, in my opinion.
That's a good answer. And what is the city where you learned the most about yourself?
Oh, learnt the most. I'd have to say Miami.
Okay.
And I can tell you a quick story about it.
Go for
I
it.
was stuck in a hurricane in Miami.
Oh no.
And it was only when I'd first started traveling solo. So I learned a lot about myself. I learned about how strong I am and how resilient I am. And yeah,
for sure you
from
did.
that point onwards, I think I could handle anything.
I'll say that's quite impressive. Linda, I'm so excited for my listeners to read your books. I'm going to put a link to as many of them as I can in the show notes. And it was a pleasure speaking with you. Australia is on my list to go and visit. I just have to get over my fear of snakes. Because the only stories I hear about Australia, unfortunately, are people getting killed by snakes. So when I get over that, which is hopefully soon, I'm definitely going to have to reach out to you and ask for your recommendations of where to visit in Australia, and gluten-free ones as well.
Absolutely, yes. Feel free to reach out and I'll absolutely give you the best tips ever.
Thank you so much. All right, till next time. Thank you so much for listening to this conversation between Linda and myself. I hope this was incredibly informative because it was for me. Till next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.